The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Admiral Park J1 had ever seen. It stretched so far that the walls disappeared into shadow. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform, and each seat held a representative from a different species. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had bodies that Park could not even describe. All of them were looking at him with the same expression. It was the look you give to a small child who has wandered into an important meeting. Park stood straight and kept his face calm. Behind him stood Captain Lee Su-bin, his second in command. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, but today she said nothing. They both understood the situation. Earth was the newest member of the Galactic Council. Humans had only been part of this community for 40 years. In galactic terms, that was nothing. That was yesterday. The High Speaker, a being called Alan, floated at the center of the platform. Alan was ancient. His body was like smoke given form, shifting and changing with each word he spoke. His voice filled the chamber without effort. "We thank all member species for answering our call," Alan said. "The Varath Dominion has declared war on the Council. In 2 months, we have lost 3 major battles. Our fleets are broken. Our defenses are failing." Park listened carefully. He had read the reports. The Varath were aggressive and brutal. They had been quiet for 800 years, building their strength in the outer regions of the galaxy. Now they were moving, and they were crushing everything in their path. "Each member species must contribute forces to our combined fleet," Alan continued. "We will make our stand together." One by one, the representatives announced their contributions. The Marveni Hegemony offered 200 warships. The Kel Collective offered 150. The Ther Federation offered 300. The numbers kept growing. Park counted over 2,000 ships promised to the defense fleet. Then Alan turned his shifting gaze toward the human delegation. "And what does Earth offer?" Park stepped forward. His boots made a sharp sound on the stone floor. "Earth offers 12 ships," he said. The chamber went silent. Then the laughter began. It started from the Marvani section. Councillor Threnvers, the elder representative of the Marvani hegemony, made a sound like stones grinding together. It was his species' version of laughter. Others joined him. The sound echoed through the massive room. 12 ships, Threnvas said. His voice was deep and rough. "The Dust Crawlers offer 12 ships. How generous. How very generous." Captain Lee's hands tightened into fists at her sides, but she did not speak. Park had ordered her to stay silent no matter what happened. He needed her to follow that order now more than ever. "Perhaps the humans misunderstand," said another counselor, a Kel with bright blue scales. "We are fighting a war, not playing games. 12 ships will not even slow the Varath down. 12 ships is what Earth sends to explore empty space," Threnvas added. "This is an insult to every species that has offered real forces." Park waited for the laughter to die down. When he spoke, his voice was steady. 12 ships is what we brought. We came as fast as we could." Threnvas leaned forward in his seat. His body was massive, covered in thick gray plates like armor. His eyes were small and dark, filled with contempt. "Let me explain something to you, human. My people have been sailing between stars for 15,000 years. We have fought wars you cannot imagine. We have technology your primitive minds cannot understand. And you bring 12 ships to stand beside us?" "Yes," Park said simply. "Then stay out of our way," Threnvas said. "Put your little ships in the back. Watch how real warriors fight. Perhaps you will learn something before you die." More laughter filled the chamber. Park let it wash over him like water. He had faced worse. Every human had faced worse. Earth's history was written in blood and fire. A few alien insults meant nothing. High Speaker Allen raised a tendril of smoke, calling for silence. "Earth's contribution is noted," he said. There was no judgment in his voice, but there was no respect either. "All forces will gather at the Valoria staging point. We will plan our defense together." The meeting continued, but Park stopped listening to the words. Instead, he watched the tactical displays that floated in the air above the platform. They showed the positions of Varth fleets, the territories they had conquered, the worlds they had burned. He studied the patterns of their attacks. He memorized the formations of their ships. Captain Lee moved closer to him. "Sir," she whispered, "they are treating us like children." "Let them," Park replied quietly. "How can you be so calm? They called us dust crawlers. They laughed at us." Park turned his head slightly to look at her. "Do you know why they laughed, Subin? Because they think we are weak." "No." Park's eyes moved back to the tactical display. "They laughed because they are afraid. They have lost 3 battles in 2 months. Their technology is failing them. Their numbers mean nothing against the Varth. They are terrified, and they need someone to look down on. We are convenient." Lee considered this. "And what do we do about it?" "We watch. We learn. We wait." When the meeting ended, Park approached the central platform where High Speaker Allen still floated. Threnvase was there too, speaking with other counselors about fleet positions. "High Speaker," Park said, bowing his head slightly, "I have a request." Allen's form shifted with curiosity. "Speak, Admiral." "I would like access to the battle recordings from your 3 defeats. I want to study them." Threnvase made his grinding laugh again. "What would a human learn from our battles? Your species was still fighting with chemical rockets when we mastered faster-than-light travel." "Perhaps nothing," Park admitted. "But I would like to try." Allen considered the request for a moment. "Very well. Access will be granted to the human delegation. Study what you wish." "Thank you, High Speaker." Park turned and walked away. Captain Lee followed him. Behind them, Threnvase called out one more insult. "Study hard, little human. Learn what real warfare looks like. Then hide your 12 ships somewhere safe when the fighting starts." Park did not respond. He did not need to. Words were meaningless now. Only actions would matter in the days ahead. As they left the chamber, Lee spoke again. "Sir, what are we really looking for in those recordings?" Park's expression did not change, but something cold entered his eyes. "We are looking for the reason they keep losing. And I think I already know what it is." "What?" Park stopped walking. He looked back at the great chamber, filled with thousands of representatives from hundreds of species. All of them ancient. All of them powerful. All of them afraid. "They have forgotten how to fight," he said. "They have had peace for so long that war has become a story to them. Something from history books? But humans remember. We have never forgotten." He started walking again, his boots echoing in the empty corridor. "And soon, the whole galaxy will remember too." The Earth flagship Horizon's Edge floated in the darkness above Valoria Prime. It was not the largest ship in orbit. Compared to the massive Moravani dreadnoughts and the elegant Kell cruisers, it looked small and plain. The other species had ships that glowed with energy shields and sparkled with advanced technology. The human ships were gray and simple, built for function rather than beauty. Admiral Park J1 stood in the tactical center of his ship. Around him, screens filled with data. Battle recordings played on every surface. He had been watching them for 6 hours without rest. Lieutenant Cho Yuno worked at the main console. She was young, only 28 years old, but she had one of the sharpest minds in the fleet. Her specialty was tactical analysis. She could see patterns where others saw chaos. "Play the second battle again," Park ordered. The recording started over. It showed the Battle of Kira Station, where the Council had lost 80 ships. The Varth fleet appeared on screen, 200 warships in perfect formation. They moved like a single organism, attacking with overwhelming force. The Council fleet responded with their own formation. Ships lined up in neat rows, firing their energy weapons in coordinated volleys. It was beautiful to watch. It was also completely useless. The Varth absorbed the attacks with their shields, pushed forward, and tore the Council fleet apart. The battle lasted less than an hour. "Stop," Park said. Una paused the recording. "What do you see, sir?" "The same thing I saw in the first battle." "And the third?" Park walked closer to the frozen image. "The Council fights like they are performing a dance. Every move is planned. Every formation is traditional. There is no creativity, no adaptation." Captain Lee Su-bin entered the tactical center. She had been checking on the other ships in their small fleet. "All 12 vessels report ready, Admiral. Though I am not sure what we are supposed to be ready for." Park pointed at the screen. "Look at this. The Varth attack in wave patterns. First wave tests the defenses. Second wave finds weak points. Third wave exploits those weak points. It is simple. It is predictable. But it works because the Council never changes their response. They fight the same way every time," Una added. "Formation 7 for defense. Formation 12 for attack. The Varth probably have our tactics memorized by now." The door opened again, and Commander Beek Dong-ho walked in. He was the oldest officer on the ship, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion 30 years ago. His face was marked with old scars, and his eyes held the weight of battles fought and friends lost. "You called for me, Admiral?" Beek asked. "I did. I need your expertise." Park gestured at the recordings. "What do you see?" Beek studied the screens for a long moment. He watched the Varth ships tear through Council defenses. He watched the neat formations crumble into chaos. Finally, he spoke. "They use energy weapons exclusively. Plasma cannons, particle beams, focused light arrays. All the standard galactic technology. And their shields? Designed to absorb and redirect energy attacks. Very advanced. Probably the best in the galaxy." Beek paused. "But that is all they are designed for." Park nodded slowly. "Exactly." Lee looked between the two men. "I do not understand. What are you saying?" Beek turned to face her. 800 years ago, the Galactic Council banned certain weapons. They called them barbaric, cruel, uncivilized. Energy weapons became the standard. Clean, efficient, honorable. "What weapons did they ban?" Lee asked. "Kinetic weapons," Beek answered. "Simple projectiles. Mass accelerated to high speeds. No energy signatures. No fancy technology. Just metal hitting metal at incredible velocity." Una's eyes widened. "Their shields are not designed for physical impacts." "Not even close," Beek confirmed. "A kinetic round at near light speed would pass through their shields like they were not there. The shields would try to absorb energy that does not exist. They would fail completely." Park walked to a different console and pulled up Earth's fleet specifications. "Show them what we carry, Commander." Beek entered his authorization codes. New information appeared on the screens. Weapon systems that the Council had never seen. Kinetic impactors that could accelerate tungsten rods to 90% of light speed. Nuclear warheads of various yields. Electromagnetic pulse missiles that could disable entire fleets. Cluster munitions designed to tear through hull plating. Lee stared at the list. "We have all of this?" "Earth never signed the weapons treaty," Park explained. "We joined the Council, but we kept our military technology. We told them we needed time to transition to energy weapons. They believed us. Why did we keep these weapons? Lee asked. Park's expression grew dark. Because humans know something that the Council has forgotten. Peace is temporary. War is eternal. We fought each other for thousands of years before we reached the stars. We perfected the art of killing. We refined it. We made it efficient. He looked at the battle recordings still frozen on the screens. All those burning ships. All those lost lives. The Council had forgotten what real war looked like. Humans never stopped preparing for war, Park continued. While the galaxy played at peace, we built weapons. We trained soldiers. We remembered our history. Every battle. Every massacre. Every genocide. We carry that weight with us everywhere we go. The room was silent for a moment. Then Una spoke. Sir, if our weapons are this effective, why have we not shared them with the Council? Because they would not use them, Park answered. They would call us savages. They would ban our technology. They would lecture us about civilization and honor while the Vorath burned their worlds. He shook his head. No, we keep our secrets until the moment is right. An alarm suddenly filled the room. Una turned to her console, her fingers flying across the controls. Admiral, we are receiving an emergency transmission from the Council chamber. Put it through. High Speaker Allen's voice filled the room. It was shaking. All Council members. Emergency session. The Vorath have struck again. The Marvani home system has been attacked. Their defense fleet is destroyed. The homeworld has days, perhaps hours, before the Vorath arrive. Lee looked at Park. Threnvas. His people. Park nodded slowly. The same being who had called humans dust crawlers was now watching his entire species face extinction. There was no satisfaction in Park's heart. Only cold calculation. The Marvani have 12 billion citizens on their homeworld, Una reported. If the Vorath reached them, she did not need to finish. Everyone knew what the Vorath did to conquered populations. They did not take slaves. They did not demand surrender. They simply erased entire species from existence. Sir, Lee said quietly, what do we do? Park stood motionless, his mind working through possibilities. 12 ships against the Vorath fleet. It was madness by any calculation. But sometimes, madness was the only option. We wait, he finally said. We wait for them to realize the truth. What truth? Park looked at his officers, his team, his family of warriors. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. They had studied Earth's bloody history. They had learned from humanity's greatest generals and most terrible monsters. They were ready. The truth that their ancient technology cannot save them. The truth that their numbers mean nothing. The truth that the only species in this galaxy who actually knows how to fight is the one they laughed at yesterday. He turned back to the screens, watching the Vorath ships move closer to Marvani space. Soon they will come to us. They will beg for help. And when they do, we will show them what humans really are. And what are we? Lee asked. Park's answer was simple and cold. We are the galaxy's last hope. They just do not know it yet. The emergency council session was chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate retreat to their home systems. Others called for surrender negotiations with the Vorath. A few simply sat in stunned silence, watching their ancient civilization crumble around them. Admiral Park J1 stood at the back of the chamber with Captain Lee Subin. They watched and waited. High Speaker Allen tried to restore order, but his voice was lost in the noise. For the first time, his smoke-like form seemed thin and weak. The confidence he had shown yesterday was gone. At the center of the chaos stood Counselor Threnvas. His gray armor body was rigid with tension. His small dark eyes darted from screen to screen, watching the reports from his dying homeworld. The Marvani defense fleet was gone. 200 warships destroyed in less than 3 hours. The Varath fleet was now moving toward the planet itself. "We must send reinforcements," Threnvaz demanded. "The combined fleet must move now. And lose more ships?" Another counselor replied, "The Varath will destroy any fleet we send. We have already lost too many. Then what do you suggest? Let my people die?" The counselor looked away. He had no answer. One by one, species began announcing their withdrawal from the combined fleet. The Kel Collective pulled back their ships. The Thair Federation followed. Within an hour, the alliance that had promised 2,000 ships was down to less than 500. And even those would not fight for the Marvani. Park watched it all without expression. This was what he had expected. When real danger came, the council fell apart. Their alliances were built on trade and tradition, not blood and sacrifice. They did not know how to stand together when standing together meant dying together. Threnvaz saw his last hope disappearing. His species had hours left. 12 billion lives, and no one would lift a finger to save them. His pride broke like glass. The massive Marvani pushed through the crowd and walked directly toward the human delegation. Other species watched in confusion. What could Threnvaz possibly want from the dust crawlers? He stopped in front of Admiral Park. Up close, the alien was even larger. His body towered over the human, blocking out the light. But Park did not step back. He simply looked up and waited. "Admiral Park," Threnvaz said. His voice was different now. The contempt was gone. In its place was something raw and desperate. "I need to speak with you, privately." Park nodded. "Follow me." They walked to a small chamber off the main hall. Captain Lee followed, her hand resting on her sidearm. When the door closed behind them, Threnvaz did something Park never expected. The giant alien lowered himself, bringing his eyes to human level. "I was wrong about your people," Threnvaz said. "I mocked you. I insulted you. I treated you like lesser beings." Park said nothing. "But you did not react. You did not argue. You just watched and listened." Threnvaz paused. "I have been a warrior for 300 years. I know that look. It is the look of someone who is waiting. Someone who knows something others do not." "What do you want, counselor?" Park asked. "I want you to save my people." The words hung in the air. Lee shifted uncomfortably. This was the same alien who had promised to humiliate humanity just yesterday. Now he was begging. "Your fleet is 12 ships," Threnvaz continued. "But I watched you study those battle recordings. I saw how you looked at our tactics. You found something, did you not? You know why we keep losing." Park considered his answer carefully. "Yes, I know why you lose. Tell me." "Your fleets fight with honor. They follow ancient rules of warfare. They believe that superior numbers and advanced technology will always win." Park's voice was calm but cold. "The Varath do not care about honor. They care about victory. And your people have forgotten the difference." Threnvaz was silent for a moment. Then he asked the question Park had been waiting for. "Can you stop them?" "Possibly. What do you need?" "Full tactical command. Every ship that remains in the combined fleet answers to me. No interference from the council. No questions about my methods." Threnvaz straightened. "The council will never agree. They have never given command to a species as young as yours." "Then your people will die," Park said simply. "And after them, the Kel, then the Thar, then every other species in this galaxy. The Varath will not stop. They will keep coming until there is nothing left." The truth of those words filled the small room. Threnvaz knew Park was right. The Varath had shown no interest in negotiation. They did not want territory or resources. They wanted extinction. I will speak to the council, Threnvas finally said. I will make them agree. He turned and left the chamber. Park and Lee followed, returning to the main hall. Ambassador Shin Hana was waiting for them. She was Earth's diplomatic representative, a composed woman who had negotiated treaties on 3 different worlds. She already knew what had happened. She had prepared for this moment for years. Admiral, she said quietly, are you ready? Yes. Ambassador Shin walked to the central platform. Her movement caught the attention of the chaotic council. Slowly, the shouting died down. All eyes turned to the small human woman standing where High Speaker Alan usually floated. Members of the Galactic Council, Shin began. Her voice was clear and strong. Earth is a proposal. What can Earth possibly offer? Someone called out. 12 ships and wishful thinking? We offer victory, Shin replied. We offer survival. The chamber went silent. Our fleet will jump to Morvani space immediately. We will engage the Varth before they reach the homeworld. We will buy time for evacuation and reinforcement. 12 ships against the Varth fleet? High Speaker Alam's form flickered with disbelief. That is suicide. Perhaps. But we have studied your defeats. We have found the weakness in Varth tactics. And we have weapons they have never faced. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Weapons they had never faced? What could humans possibly have that the galaxy's most advanced species did not? However, Shin continued, we have one condition. Admiral Park Jae-won must be given full tactical command of all Council forces. Any ship that joins this fight answers to him. His orders are absolute. The murmurs became shouts. This was impossible, unthinkable. A species that had been sailing between stars for only 2 centuries could not command fleets from civilizations thousands of years old. But then Councillor Threnvas rose to his full height. His voice boomed across the chamber. I support this proposal. Silence again. Every eye turned to the Marvani elder. He had been humanity's loudest critic. Now he stood with them. I have spoken with Admiral Park, Threnvas continued. He understands war in ways we have forgotten. Our traditions and our pride have blinded us. We fight with rules against an enemy that has none. We need someone who remembers what real war is. He looked directly at Park. Humans remember. They have never forgotten. High Speaker Alan floated forward. His ancient mind weighed the options. Pride against survival. Tradition against extinction. Very well, he finally said. Admiral Park Jae-won is granted emergency tactical command of all Council forces. This authority will last until the current crisis is resolved. Park stepped forward and bowed slightly. Thank you, High Speaker. He turned to face the chamber. Hundreds of species watched him. Some with hope, some with doubt, some with fear of what they had just done. All ships willing to fight will gather at these coordinates, Park announced. Yuna transmitted the location to every console in the chamber. We jump to Morvani space in 3 hours. Anyone not there will be left behind. He began walking toward the exit. Captain Lee fell into step beside him. Admiral, Lee whispered, we still only have 12 ships. What if no one else comes? Park did not slow down. Then 12 ships will have to be enough. And if we fail? Park stopped at the door and looked back at the council chamber. At all those ancient beings who had just placed their survival in human hands. We will not fail, he said. Humans do not know how to fail. We only know how to survive. At any cost. By any means. He walked through the door, leaving the galaxy's leaders to wonder what they had just unleashed. The jump to Morvani space took seconds, but those seconds felt like hours. Admiral Park Jae-won stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the stars blur and reform into new patterns. When the view cleared, He saw exactly what he expected. The Vorath fleet filled the space ahead. 200 warships in perfect formation, moving toward the blue-green world of Morvani Prime. They were massive vessels, covered in black armor and bristling with weapons. Their design was cruel and efficient. These ships were not built for exploration or trade. They were built for one purpose only: destruction. Behind Park, his fleet emerged from jump space. 12 human ships, small and gray and ordinary-looking. Behind them came 47 council vessels that had chosen to follow. Most species had fled, but some still had courage. It was not much, but it was something. Captain Lee Su-bin reported from her station. All ships accounted for, Admiral. The council observers are requesting status updates. Park ignored the request. He was studying the Vorath formation. Every ship held its position perfectly. No variation. No creativity. They fought like machines following a program. "Open a channel to our fleet," Park ordered. "Channel open, sir." "This is Admiral Park. All council vessels will hold position at these coordinates. Do not advance. Do not engage. Watch and learn." Confused responses came back from the council ships. They were trained to attack in formation. Standing still felt wrong. "Admiral," a Kel captain transmitted, "should we not support your assault?" "You would only get in the way," Park replied. "Earth ships will handle the first phase. When I give the signal, you will do exactly what I say. Nothing more. Nothing less." He closed the channel before anyone could argue. "Lieutenant Cho," Park said, "deploy the ghosts." Yuna smiled and entered the command. From the cargo bays of all 12 human ships, thousands of small objects launched into space. They were drones, equipped with signal projectors and sensor reflectors. Each one could make itself appear to be a full-sized warship on enemy scanners. Within minutes, the 12 human ships became what looked like 1,200. On the Vorath flagship, War Master Kroll watched his tactical display with confusion. Moments ago, his sensors showed fewer than 60 enemy vessels. Now they showed over 1,000. Where had they come from? How had the Council hidden such a massive fleet? Kroll was not afraid. The Vorath had never known fear. But he was cautious. He ordered his fleet to slow their advance and reconfigure their formation to face the unexpected threat. That hesitation was exactly what Park wanted. "Phase 2, Park announced. "Captain Lee, take Squadron Alpha around the moon. Use gravity assist for acceleration. Hit them from behind." Lee was already moving. She had trained for this maneuver hundreds of times in simulation. She knew exactly how to use the moon's gravity to slingshot her ships to incredible speed, approaching from an angle that should be impossible. "Commander Beak," Park continued, "prepare kinetic batteries. Target their flagship on my command." Beak's fingers danced across his weapons console. Deep in the ship, the kinetic impactors hummed with power. Tungsten rods the size of small trees, ready to be accelerated to near light speed. No energy signature. No warning. Just pure, unstoppable mass. The Vorath fleet began moving again, trying to engage what they thought was a massive enemy force. Their weapons charged. Their shields glowed with power. They were ready for energy weapons. They were ready for the familiar dance of galactic warfare. They were not ready for humanity. Captain Lee's squadron burst around the moon like stones from a slingshot. 5 ships moving at speeds the Vorath had never seen from vessels that size. They did not attack in formation. They scattered, approaching from 5 different angles simultaneously. War Master Kroll tried to respond. He ordered his rear guard to turn and engage. But Lee's ships did not stay still long enough to be targeted. They fired quick bursts, damaged a few Vorath vessels, then pulled away before return fire could reach them. It was not an attack. It was an insult. A distraction. "Now, Commander Beak," Park ordered. The horizon's edge fired its kinetic impactors. There was no flash of light. No beam of energy. Just silence, and then destruction. The tungsten rods crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. The Vorath flagship detected no incoming energy. Their shields were designed for energy weapons. They did nothing against physical projectiles. The first rod punched through the flagship shields like they were not there. It hit the hull at 90% of light speed. The impact released more energy than a nuclear explosion. The entire front section of the massive ship simply vanished, converted to plasma and debris. The second rod hit moments later, tearing through the engine section. The third destroyed the bridge. War-Master Krull was dead before he understood what had happened. The Vorath fleet froze in shock. Their flagship was gone. Their War Master was dead. Nothing in their 800 years of conquest had prepared them for this. How could ships so small cause such destruction? What weapons were these? Park did not give them time to recover. All ships, attack pattern Omega, scatter and engage. Individual targeting. Do not stay in one place for more than 10 seconds. The Earth fleet broke apart like a swarm of angry insects. Each ship moved independently, following its captain's instincts rather than any formal pattern. They darted between Vorath vessels, firing kinetic rounds and missiles, then disappeared before the enemy could respond. The Vorath tried to fight back. They had done so for 8 centuries. They knew nothing but victory. But their tactics depended on formations. Their shields depended on energy weapons. Neither worked against humans, who fought like no species they had ever encountered. Commander Beak launched EMP missiles into the center of the Vorath formation. The electromagnetic pulses disabled shield generators and targeting systems on dozens of ships. Suddenly blind, those vessels became easy targets. Nuclear warheads followed, turning disabled ships into expanding clouds of fire and debris. The Council observers watched in stunned silence. They had expected to see the humans die bravely. They had prepared eulogies for the brave dust-crawlers who had sacrificed themselves for the Morvani. Instead, they were watching 12 small ships tear apart 200 Vorath warships. One by one, Vorath vessels began to flee. The concept of retreat was foreign to them. Their culture demanded victory or death. But some survival instinct, buried deep, finally awakened. They ran. Park watched the remaining Vorath ships jump to faster than light speed, escaping the massacre. He let them go. Those survivors would return to Vorath space with stories of what they had seen. Fear would spread through their entire civilization. "Admiral," Lieutenant Cho reported, her voice shaking slightly. "Enemy fleet has disengaged." Final count: 112 Vorath ships destroyed. 73 disabled. 15 escaped. Casualties? Park asked. 2 human ships damaged. No ships lost. 12 crew members injured. No deaths. The bridge was silent. Even the officers who had expected victory were shocked by the scale of it. 12 ships against 200. And they had won without losing a single vessel. Captain Lee's voice came over the communication channel. She had returned from her attack run, her ship smoking but intact. "Admiral, the Vorath are gone. Morvani Prime is safe." Park allowed himself a small nod. "Good work, Captain." He looked at the tactical display, now showing the debris field that used to be a Vorath armada. Somewhere among that wreckage was the remains of War Master Krull, who had never learned what hit him. The Council observers began transmitting frantic messages back to Valoria Prime. Park could imagine what they were saying. He could imagine the fear spreading through every species that had laughed at humanity. Yesterday, 12 ships. 200 enemies. One clear message: humanity was not a joke. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever produced, and they were just getting started. Nee whispered. No one moved. They simply stared at the human who had done the impossible. The battle recordings had been played 3 times. Every species had watched their worst nightmare become reality. 12 human ships. 200 Vorath warships. A massacre that should have gone one way had gone completely the other. Park waited for someone to speak. When no one did, he stepped aside to let Ambassador Shin Hana address the council. The Vorath threat to Morvani Prime has been eliminated, Shin announced. The homeworld is safe. 12 billion lives saved. Still no response. The silence was heavier than any noise could have been. High Speaker Allen finally drifted forward. His smoke-like form was denser than before, as if the stress had given him more substance. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight of centuries. Admiral Park, the Council owes you a debt that cannot be repaid. You saved an entire species when we had abandoned them. Park nodded but said nothing. However, Allen continued, we must ask a question that troubles us all. The weapons you used, the tactics you employed. We have never seen anything like them. Where did these things come from? Earth, Park answered simply. But such weapons were banned. The Galactic Weapons Treaty of Era 4700 outlawed kinetic accelerators, nuclear devices, and electromagnetic pulse weapons. All civilized species signed that treaty. Earth did not sign it. Another wave of silence swept through the chamber. Ambassador Shin stepped forward to explain. When humanity joined the Council 40 years ago, we agreed to follow Council laws and customs. But we never formally accepted the weapons treaty. We told the Council we needed time to transition our military to energy-based systems. That transition was never completed. You lied to us, a Thair representative called out. We delayed, Shin corrected. There is a difference. And considering that our weapons just saved 12 billion lives, perhaps you should be grateful for that delay. No one could argue with that logic. The humans had kept their barbaric weapons, and those barbaric weapons had done what no civilized technology could accomplish. Councillor Threnvas rose from his seat. His massive body moved slowly, weighted down by exhaustion and emotion. He walked to the central platform and stood facing Admiral Park. I was wrong about your people, Threnvas said. I called you dust crawlers. I said you were playing at stars. I laughed at your 12 ships. He paused. I will never laugh again. He turned to face the full council. I moved to elevate Earth to primary council status, the highest rank. They have proven themselves not just as members of our community, but as its protectors. Gasps filled the chamber. Primary council status was reserved for species that had shaped galactic civilization for thousands of years. The Marvani themselves had only achieved it after 3,000 years of membership. The motion is recognized, High Speaker Allen said. Do we have a second? 20 hands raised immediately. Species that had ignored humanity for decades were now eager to show support. The motion passes, Allen announced. Earth is elevated to primary council status, effective immediately. Ambassador Shin bowed gracefully. Earth accepts this honor with gratitude. But something had changed in the chamber. Park could feel it. The admiration in some eyes had been replaced by something else. Something darker. Fear. Later, in a private meeting room, High Speaker Allen spoke with Admiral Park alone. The ancient being's form flickered uncertainly. You must understand our position, Allen said. For 800 years, the Council has maintained peace through balance. Every species knows the other's capabilities. No one has enough power to dominate. That balance kept us safe. And now? Park asked. Now you have shown us that one species does have that power. 12 ships destroyed 200. If your fleet is truly the smallest of 7, then Earth could conquer the entire council without effort. Park considered his response carefully. This was the moment he had prepared for. The moment when fear could become either alliance or war. Hi, Speaker. Do you know why humans develop such weapons? To fight. To conquer. That is what weapons are for? No. Park shook his head. We developed these weapons because we were afraid. We spent thousands of years killing each other. Every nation on our planet built armies because every other nation had armies. Fear drove us to create better and better ways to destroy each other. That sounds like a violent and terrible history. It was. But it also taught us something important. We learned that the only thing worse than having weapons is not having weapons when someone else does. We learned that peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered. Alan's form swirled thoughtfully. And now you have brought that philosophy to the stars. Yes, but there is something else we learned. Park looked directly at the High Speaker. We learned that having the power to destroy is not the same as wanting to destroy. The strongest nations on Earth eventually realized that cooperation brought more than conquest ever could. We stopped fighting each other. We united. And then we reached for the stars. United against what? Park smiled slightly. Against loneliness. Against the silence of space. We came to the stars because we were alone. We wanted to find others. We wanted to belong to something larger than ourselves. There was a long pause. Then Alan asked the question that had been burning in every mind. What do you want from us? What does Earth truly seek? Park's answer was immediate and sincere. We want allies. We want friends. We want to share what we know and learn what we do not. We want to help build something that will last for millions of years. He paused. We have the power to take what we want. We choose not to use it. That choice is what separates humans from the Varth. Alan studied the human for a long time. Finally, something like relief passed through his ancient form. Perhaps we were wrong to fear you. Fear is healthy, Park replied. It keeps everyone honest. But fear without trust destroys everything. The Council must learn to trust humanity. And we must earn that trust through our actions, not our words. He walked toward the door, then stopped. There is one more thing, High Speaker. The Varth will return. They have never known defeat before. They will not accept it. When they come back, they will come with everything they have. And what will Earth do? Park looked back. We will be ready. We have 7 fleets. If the Varth want a war of extinction, we will give them one. But it will be their extinction, not ours. Not the Council's. He opened the door. Humanity does not lose wars, High Speaker. We have forgotten how. That night, Admiral Park stood alone in the observation deck of the horizon's edge. Below him, Movani Prime glowed with the lights of 12 billion saved lives. Around him, the Council fleet had gathered, larger than before. Ships from 20 different species now flew alongside Earth's 12 vessels. Captain Lee found him there, staring at the stars. The crew is celebrating, she said. You should join them. Park shook his head. Let them celebrate. They earned it. What about you? I am thinking about what comes next. He turned to look at her. We changed things today. The galaxy will never be the same. Some species will become our allies. Others will become our enemies. And everyone will be watching everything we do. Is that a bad thing? It is a responsibility. We showed the galaxy our power. Now we must show them our wisdom. Park looked back at the stars. That is the harder task. Lee stood beside him in silence. Together, they watched the universe spin slowly around them. Somewhere out there, the Vorath were regrouping. Somewhere out there, new threats were waiting. But for this moment, Humanity had proven its place among the stars. They had come from a small blue world, fighting each other for thousands of years. They had nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times. But they had survived. They had learned. And now they stood as protectors of a galaxy that had once laughed at them. The Council trembled when they learned Earth's fleet was the galaxy's first true power. But in time, that fear would become respect. And that respect would become something stronger, something unbreakable: brotherhood.